Shooting a feature film seems to increasingly present new challenges. One of the greatest challenges is to be able to work very efficiently, very quickly, but you have to deliver a very high standard of work. To do that, you've got to have reliable units that are versatile.
There are two main looks for this film. We achieve this using a lot of the ProPhoto Pro panels to give us a great moonlight look, so around about 8,000 Kelvin with a little bit of cyan, as well as a 5,600 Kelvin daylight look.
I've had an incredible experience on the Butler and a great experience working with ProPhoto. We've created an aesthetic that I'm really proud of, and we've done it on a really tight schedule, and ProPhoto has been there to help us deliver that.
I plan to use them in every production going forward.
Hi there, thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Andy Bellamy from AJ Video, and I've worked in and around our industry for roughly the last sort of 25 to 30 years. I've spent quite a lot of that time at AJ as well, and I've been involved with things like product management, product marketing, and various other roles, and I've been the EMEA technical director now for the last couple of years. We're going to talk to you about color pipelines today. So yeah, let's look at a little bit of on-set, a little bit of post. But we'll start really by outlining what are the challenges that we come up against with HDR for production and post. So HDR and SDR simulcast demands both SDR and HDR, so that's the first place. You're never really going to lie in one world or the other. You're probably going to be asked for both, so that's a big consideration when we're choosing the right kind of kit on set. We need to try and standardize our workflows, so being able to repeat our results again and again and again with confidence for our customers and our clients is really, really important. That's another big factor that we'll see in this as well. If you're going to do conversion for HDR and SDR, it has to be as precise as possible, and it has to be accurate every single time. That's also very important. And of course, on-set monitoring of HDR requires you to have some level of skill in terms of calibration so that you can make sure your monitoring equipment is accurate throughout as well. So these are kind of the big four. There are subcategories for each one of these that we could get really into, but we'll try and sort of respond to these bigger questions as we go through and we look at the color pipeline that AJA would recommend. So anybody who was here last year, I talked a bit about ColorBox last year and about how this is really a great tool for on set, and this is going to be no different this year. We're going to get into a bit more detail though, section by section, as we see what this kind of device brings to our on-set experience and post-production as well. So in essence, it's a compact high-performance converter. So it's inline transformations for HDR and SDR, as well as LUTs as well. So obviously this is something that you will have come up against so far, I would have thought, where we need to actually deal with both disciplines within a single unit, and this device lets you do that. So on-set looks and LUT management, live production, so HDR conversions on set, monitor calibration, as we talked about at the beginning, that's also very important. You can do it with this device. And of course, it responds to both 4K Ultra HD needs as well as HD as well. So at a high level, really, it's an extensive color processing pipeline. So there are a number of different ways to achieve the results that we want to on set using a device like this. If you're in an environment where you're using multi-cameras, this device will also allow you to take individual frame grabs from each of your sources and then compare them, so you can see an A/B in real time on set between different cameras. So if you want to shade things to match, you're able to do that as well. Obviously, as every year goes by, there's even more and more metadata that we have to deal with. This just loves it all. It will take all the metadata that you have and it will take it through, and you can actually allot that to an on-screen position as well, so we can read that metadata in real time while we're working. We talked a little bit about calibration being an important part of the process here, and this device allows you to use HDR color bars in the box, or standard or SDR color bars as well, so you can make sure that your device, your monitor, is correctly calibrated for the pipeline as well. Preset management, I think this is also a big part of it. It won't just be the case that you have one particular LUT that you're going to be accessing on set. You might have multiple LUTs, you might have banks of LUTs that you need to have access to. This device lets you do that with ease as well. You'll see how it's operatable. It's a web server inside the box, so you don't have to have specific software on set. There's nothing worse than being on set and realizing you either have the wrong platform for the software, or you don't have the software at all for the device that you want to operate in the video village. This is completely agnostic to how you want to work. You just simply need a browser and an Ethernet or Wi-Fi connection to the device, and you can then control it all remotely. It's not specifically software. It serves its control into any web browser, so really easy to set up and to operate as well. But for those of us who are more skilled than I am, certainly in this world, there is a full SDK as well. So if you wanted to actually script for this device using its API, you can do so. We provide examples of coding, and we can assist you in your aims as well. There are third-party softwares that do exist for this device as well, which allow you to control multiple units all within a single interface, which is also quite compelling too. So we'll look at the hardware to begin with, because that's where we start. So basically a 12 gig SDI I/O, so everything up to 4K 60p. So in most circumstances, in terms of episodic drama, feature film production, and general television, 4K 60p should be enough. The pipeline will support 12-bit RGB 444 as well, but that's up to 4K 30 frames a second. So that particular pipeline is probably going to be more of the cinematic end. Perhaps you're working in 2398 on set. You would be able to work with 12-bit RGB 444 with this device. HDMI 2.0 as an output, so this is really easy for you to use domestic, off-the-shelf, HDR-compliant monitors and get great results on set. If you don't want to spend a huge amount of money on a 12 gig version, HDMI monitors can be a lot more cost-effective, and this is an easy way to include those into your pipeline as well. And as I mentioned before, it is controllable via the LAN port, so everything that we do with it, we control through a browser interface, but you can also have Wi-Fi as well. It's a simple connection on the front of the device to a Wi-Fi adapter, and suddenly you have a completely wireless workflow as well. As I mentioned, built-in web server, so no specific software that we have to install to make the box work. So this is a quick look at the interface. Any browser will allow you to work with this particular device. It's a simple IP address that the box serves up. You connect to that, and then all of your controls are available in there. And we'll look a little bit later on as to how we can actually effect control using third-party devices as well, which you might already be familiar with. But it's a very elegant, easy interface in terms of creating the nodes. The little nodes at the bottom there, you can see we go 1 through 7 across the bottom. Those are really our main windows there for setting up the device. So each one of those can be individually triggered or turned off with an overall bypass as well at the bottom too. So if you're in a situation where you've applied many different looks to your particular content that you're working with, sometimes it's good to take a step back and just to zero everything, and being able to turn a bypass off instantly is really, really compelling. We're then able to see exactly what our content looked like to begin with before we started to effect changes to it. In terms of that bypass, there's actually a button on the front of the box as well. So you can just hit the bypass button and it will turn everything off in your monitor. So it's very easy to be able to see originally what it looked like before you started to effect change to it. So there are 5 color processing pipelines that will address some of the things we talked about at the top of the session. So the AJ color pipeline is our own. That's the one that we've set up based on our own software inclusion into this device. And that gives you the simple inputs for 1D LUTs, 3D LUTs, 3x3 matrices as well. And it will also allow you to do color correction too, which is also part of what we're talking about as well. The ColorFront pipeline, if you're familiar with ColorFront, these guys are really the titans in HDR and SDR conversion, and this is where you will do your SDR to HDR or HDR to HDR conversion as well, because you might be working in hybrid log gamma but wish to output PQ. There's ways you can do that and affect that change within the box as well. We're probably all well aware of the MBCU LUTs and the BBC hybrid log gamma LUTs. Those are also available as an option within the device too. So if you want to work specifically within the confines of those setups, you know you're going to be able to do so with complete accuracy. So if you are doing something to spec for BBC, this is a great way of achieving the results they would expect you to while you're on set. Orion Convert is another interesting way of also affecting change. They are all doing things in a slightly different way, but the overall achievement is we change the look of our content on set. Orion Convert They're well known for working on the NBCU LUTs in the United States as well. The guys are based here too, but they worked with NBCU on that section as well. So those are also included with the box. So first things first, if you're working with a scale of production that requires you to hit those marks, this is a really easy way of affecting that change on set and making sure that you're achieving it. It's worth mentioning as well that the device, in terms of actual processing, we have a loop through which is clean. So if you just want to send a clean feed from the video village to whoever needs to see it, you can do that with ease. But it also has two outputs which are affected as well. So those two can carry the LUT that you've applied or the color correction you've applied, and you can see that in real time as well. And again, it gives you options to pass different video to anyone on set that would need to receive it really easily within the device. So we'll look basically to begin with at the AJ color pipeline. So 3D LUT processing, that's obviously going to be perhaps the most interest to this crowd in terms of what you'll be working with on set. The 3D LUT affords the most control for change. It's a 33-point tetrahedral 3D LUT. So we're able to make a lot of changes to the image by using that space and affecting it. There are 4 1D LUTs as well, which is also a very interesting way of affecting change using LUTs, and then 2 3x3 matrices as well. These are all user applicable. You can upload the LUTs that you want. Maybe you're working with post-production and they have a particular LUT that they want you to use on set. You simply take it from them, upload it to the device. If it's 1D or if it's 3D, it will be compatible with this workflow too. So you'll be able to see what post-production are expecting to see. You can see that on set. And again, as I said before, it's non-destructive. If you don't want to record that output, you're simply monitoring it, and then you can go back to that same LUT in post-production and apply it later on. Dynamic LUTs are really interesting too. So this is, if you're familiar with, and probably are, Pomfret and LiveGrade. The guys are here at the show. If you're familiar with that pipeline in terms of color correction, you can bring that to live production as well. So the device can be used in a dynamic mode. So if you're working with Pomfret, LiveGrade, or something like CyanView, or even Scarhoy controllers or similar, you're able to use it in dynamic mode and affect change beyond the controls that are already sort of accessible to you with a mouse. So a bit more fingertip fine-tuning is available by using those devices. They just see the color box as their I/O, and then you can affect all the change from those interfaces as well. You can turn them all on and off. As I said before, that's really important because you might have different stages of LUT for different parts of the shoot, but you might have them all loaded up to begin with. You can then mix and match as you see fit, as the production dictates. Full bypass mode as well, as I said before, so you are able to turn everything off just with a hit of a switch or toggle the on-screen bypass to remove any change to make sure that you're happy with what's coming in the first place. So ColorFront, the ColorFront engine is something that we've been involved with for a long time. If you're familiar with AJ products, maybe you've seen the FS HDR, which is a rack-mounted device as a frame synchronizer and scaler, which also allows you to use the BBC HLG LUTs and the NBCU LUTs as well, and also provides you with SDR to HDR and HDR to HDR transforms as well. So we've taken part of that ColorFront engine from that larger device and ported it into this device too. So it's really useful on set. ColorFront is an option, so you can try it. If you don't need it, you don't have to pay for it, but if you do want to use it, it's a small fee as an add-on license that is woken up by technical support, and you can just use that on set as you need, as your needs apply. So again, bypass mode is also important in this one too. We can turn it off very, very easily. But the SDR, HLG, and PQ transformations are computationally accurate. They're all running at 12 bits, so very, very high quality conversion in the device. You would expect to see fantastic results using these conversions. So NBCU LUTs, as we talked about, this is again developed by NBC Universal and Orion Convert and also Chromorama. These have become kind of the de facto standard of LUT that is being used in the USA right now. So if you're working in content here, potentially for delivery into the States, this is a good way of accessing a level platform for that kind of delivery. Again, there are SDR, HLG, and PQ transforms as part of this too. Display light and scene light conversions as well, which can be useful. So again, more sophisticated tools for on-set adjustment. And a processing amp and color corrector. As I said before, color correction, it can also be an add-on here as well. So it's not just the story of the look that came from the post department that you're using. Potentially you might need to change that. And if you're not using something like live grade, some subtle tweaking to the RGB spectrum can be something which can go a long way in terms of achieving the results that you want to on set. So the MVCU LUTs, again, gives you plenty of flexibility to alter and affect the changes that you need. The BBC LUTs, which is probably the most popular in this room, I would imagine. We cover all of those. I think 1.5 has been superseded. The latest version will be in the box as it stands today. So a wide range of conversions. We had a gentleman come from the BBC earlier today from R&D who had worked on these LUTs, so it was really nice to present him with his own hard work in the box. But it basically takes the LUTs from the BBC and keeps them in the box. You can apply them as you need to by scene to make sure that what you're producing is going to be accurate for delivery. Again, there's a processing amplifier and also RGB correction is available too. It's a licensable upgrade, as we mentioned before. You can use it, but it will have a watermark. When you want to actually move forward with it, it's a simple email to our support department and they turn it on. So Orion Convert, this is a much deeper technical and could almost do 45 minutes on Orion Convert on their own, but we won't do that today. It offers a higher precision of conversion as well. So this is also very interesting if you're using more sophisticated techniques on set. Maybe you have a colorist on set. Using Orion Convert can be really useful in achieving those results. Again, two-stage knee adjustment is quite different to the others, so that does give you a bit more fine-tuning control. Pixel perfect round tripping is assured as well, and clamping options, which can also be useful too, depending on what you're shooting. SDR, HLG, and PQ transforms as you would expect too. So essentially, these are a number of different ways to which we can achieve the same end game, which is to apply a LUT, to affect change, to do some processing on set while we're working and keep everybody working, seeing the content the way it will look in post-production. There's different ways you can do it. The color box, as you saw at the beginning, is a small device. It's also available as Open Gear. Open Gear is a standard, if you're not familiar, from Ross, and essentially it puts the hardware onto a card, which is then placed in this frame. So very easy to deploy multiple ones. At the moment, probably the biggest use case right now out there in the field is the Katy Perry live tour, which is taking place at the moment. It's a 27 camera setup, and Pomfret and Live Grade have just released a really great story on Pomfret's website all about how they achieved really great real-time color correction and LUTs on set using Colorbox. So really fantastic example of what's achievable using multiple color boxes on set, controlled by the third-party software, which is Live Grade in this circumstance. So in essence, they're the same. I'm not going to linger too long on the card version of it. It works exactly the same way as the box version does it. It just means you can fit more of them into a single chassis. So I think you can get up to 8 of these into a 3RU rack. So very, very compact. And of course, all of these can be controlled from a unified interface too. One of the things that's really important is the processing time. There are a number of different ways you can do this with different boxes that are available, but none of them have the unrivaled speed that the color box has. It's incredibly low latency. It's a half a line, so you can't really perceive that even on monitors that are side by side. It's so fast. That's why it's very useful for things like this live tour I was mentioning with these multi-camera setups. Lip sync can always be a big issue in the live world, and this box allows you to work with real-time color correction without getting in the way or having to ask for delays to be put in elsewhere within the pipeline. So we're working as close to real-time as is possible with this too. So, you know, in the busy paced life of on-set, we want to be able to produce results in real time and accurately as possible, and this is a really great way of doing that. I mentioned before ancillary data, it's not the most interesting part of this seminar, but it's really important in terms of what you're doing. So in essence, all of that ancillary data that these amazing modern cameras generate, we're able to pass that through. We can overlay that as well. There's a way of putting it over the images you see up there. We can add all of that rich metadata in there. We can name the shoot, we can name the director. We've got user assignable fields we could do, and we can see the transformations that are taking place on screen written out for us as well. So we really have a way of tracking exactly what the device is doing. Anybody asking anyone in the video village what's going on with this device, it's easy to say, well, this is what we've got set up, this is what's coming in. If any changes can be made or need to be made, it's easy to establish the starting point for what you're doing. You can move that around as well, so you can put it in different places on the output depending on how you wish to work with it. So frame store, this is really useful. So you're able to take a grab either in JPEG, PNG, or TIFF format of the particular shot that you've set up, and you can store that in the frame store and then recall that. So you're able to, if you've multiple cameras that you need to balance for a particular shoot, you can start with the first one, light the scene, take a shot from that camera, and then compare it to the other cameras and make any adjustments that are necessary to bring them in line with each other. So that's a really powerful tool on set. Also part of the frame store is the test pattern generator as well. So that does allow you, as I say, before anyone's even shooting, you can accurately generate HDR or SDR test patterns and send them to any monitors on set that need to receive them. So again, as I say, HDR test patterns as well, which are really useful. This is also something that you would use in terms of calibration too. So being able to send out a particular HDR calibration signal to a monitor gives you every opportunity to set that monitor as accurately as it can be in relation to your playback. Obviously, as we said, there's lots of different ways to achieve these individual results using this device. Having preset management is really, really important. So in this circumstance, we're able to save 10 presets which cover the entire pipelines that you've set up in the device as well. So if one thing works particularly well for you, you're able to save a preset and move swiftly between different setups as this production changes around you as well. So you can be reactive to things changing fast because it's very quick to actually employ these setups and have them live. As I mentioned before, dynamic LUTs are really a key part of this. So it's being able to react to changes on set as quickly as possible is really powerful. And I think this device allows you to do that. So using external software in the dynamic LUT mode means you're able to control this to the finest degree. If something changes on set, the lighting changes, you don't have access to the same lighting as a previous shoot, you're able to make minute adjustments that can go a long way in terms of the post-production cycle too. Super easy. If you've used Pomfret Live Grade, it just becomes an add. You'd use the drop-down menu and you add color box, and then color box is the I/O, and you're using the Pomfret software to control it. So for me, it doesn't get better than that. It's easier to give you the tools that you're already used to, and Pomfret is so very popular. I should say at this point there are other solutions that are available, but it's a very popular, powerful solution, and it's a very compelling the way that we integrate with their software, and we really have a good time working with the Pomfret guys over that. Obviously, noise is always going to be an issue on set. We want things to be as quiet as possible. It's a really quiet device too. We have one running here in the breakout area as you come into the event itself on the Digibox booth, and it's super quiet. It's out on the top of a DIT cart. You can actually see it running there if you want to have a hands-on demo as well. But obviously for post-production, that's also important too. Keeping the noise down in a quiet suite is important, and this is the perfect kind of add-on to the desk to use in post-production as well. So we'll take a little look at some of the workflow examples. So these are definitely based in the real world in terms of what people are up to and how they've been using our devices. We've changed these over time. This is a very simple production workflow. So we've got a 12G SDI output from a 4K camera system via the 12G SDI in. And then we've got our color box, which is 3D LUT applied, which is simulating a film look. So very, very straightforward. We're using actually one of our devices to show instead of a camera, but it could be a camera. It wouldn't matter what it was, whether it was 3G or 12G or anything in between. You simply put that into the input into the device itself, and then we have the laptop for control. So that could be any laptop, Mac, PC, Linux, it's fine. Just with the web server into our laptop, we can then make the changes we want to, and we can see that on our HDMI monitor output. So a very cost-effective, simple way of taking those post-production ideas and bringing them on set. So we can take that post-production look, no matter what system it's from, and we can apply that using this really easily. And of course, as I said before, you are able to also use tools like Pomfret Live Grade to really help with that process as well. So this is, again, more of a post-production workflow here. We can see the color box being used, again, with a laptop for control. We have an I/O 4K Plus, but that could be any video I/O device that you want to use that would fit on your desktop. And again, we're using a 4K HDMI monitor too. So the color box we are using to apply those LUTs to the content we're seeing. So if we don't want to commit to a particular look in post necessarily early on, but we want to audition a set of sequences, perhaps with rotated LUTs, we could have a whole bunch of LUTs installed here, and the producer, the director, and the editor can all get together, and they can see those playbacks and see how that would affect change really quickly. They're not having to wait for specific renders or committing time to specific processors. You can do all the auditioning in real time. So it's really powerful in a post-production environment as well, not just in the production world. So this is a little bit more complicated here. So we've got the production set, we've got a 12G 4K camera, that's going into the device itself, laptop control again, as you would expect, HDMI 2.0 monitor on the output. That could be anything off the shelf from any particular supplier of monitors. It's super easy. But we have a 4K 12G monitor as well. So a high-end spec monitor is able to be driven effortlessly from this device right alongside a HDMI 2.0 monitor, and they'll all be accurate. They won't be different. You will see exactly the process that's been applied over those as you output them. So really, really elegant way of setting up on set and feeding who needs a particular image to the correct persons. This is a bit more different. This is multicam, and one thing it's worth pointing out is you use a single color box for each camera. So it's a single input, multiple outputs, but you would use a single input for each one of those. So in this case, we've got a couple of 12G 4K cameras, we've got a couple of color boxes, and then we can have the same LUTs applied to each, and it would be the same. Our outputs, if those cameras are balanced using the processes we said before, that should all be very accurate. And then we're using at the bottom there, that's one of our routers. So we're able to route those signals accurately around the set wherever they need to go. So a live television is obviously poses many challenges in terms of providing camera shading, providing LUTs for a live production. And this particular diagram here shows you a really detailed way that we could bring in multiple different sources and balance them all with an individual color box. As I mentioned before, that could be color box OG, so on the OpenGear format, all in a single rack server, or you can fit 4 of these side by side in one RU, so easy to put into a rack if you want to do it that way. But here we've got a POV camera, we have a DSLR, we've got a broadcast camera, a red camera, and then we've also got content coming from a record, edit, and replay bay as well. So we have different things coming in. Everything's going to the video switcher, but we're using hybrid log gamma conversions all the way through for each one of those inputs. So the actual mastered output, we can then take to 2 different versions as well. Like I said at the top of the session, you're probably going to be asked to produce SDR and HDR simultaneously for most environments. This is a really easy way of doing it. You dedicate 1 box to SDR and 1 box to HDR, and it's as simple as that. You can pull it from the switcher, and you can give the people what they need. In this case, it's PQ from the HDR side of it, and then an HLG to SD. Mapping the nits from the original HLG content to SDR. As I said before, it's a 12-bit conversion process, so it's extremely accurate in terms of down conversion as well as it is cross conversion and up conversion too. So as I say, the unique challenges of live mean that you would need multiple boxes, but as we talked about earlier, these multiple boxes are all accessible, all from the same interface. So it's very straightforward to control all of these. the more you add, it doesn't get any more difficult. The complexities of the shoot can easily be managed all within a single laptop with a couple of monitors in the video village, which is pretty astounding. And in this circumstance, these are being used in the live pipeline. So this is going straight out because, as we said before, half a line video delay means we don't get in the way of any of these processes. It's very easy to use this device without putting extra strain on the rest of the production to scramble around, to skew audio to make it fit what's going on. We shouldn't get in the way, and we don't using this process. So on-set color grading, this is what we talked about in terms of providing an interface like Pomfret Live Grade, so we are able to do that. And in this particular setup here, again, we have our 12G 4K camera coming in. We have two color boxes to produce HDR and SDR again. So very simple to produce both of those things by using two separate devices, all controllable within a unified interface. And again, the device can affect change. You can have the output, like I say, to the 4K monitor can be driven with the LUT, with HDR, and it can all be accurate. You could also just send the signal through as a loop through as well. So anybody that doesn't need critical viewing in terms of the LUT applied or an HDR transformation, but just needs to see moving video, that's easy to branch that video out using a router to share that wherever that needs to be as well. So very powerful in terms of the flexibility of incorporating it into a video village. It doesn't get in the way. It's simply going to empower you to do more transforms in real time, and also to take feedback from those parties that might say, as we know so often happens on set, wait a minute, why can't we do it like this? Could we tweak that a little bit? You have all the tools at your fingertips to be able to do that in real time. So you're not slowing down the production. We're not having to do specific renders and show those later. We could even do dailies with LUTs at the end of the day on a particular shoot. It's very simple to set that up, to go through dailies with an affected look as well, so you could see what the potential is in post-production too. Again, this is a live production workflow, but this one is using the OG versions this time. So again, these go in a single frame, as I said. These have proven to be very, very popular. I think this is exactly what they're using on the Katy Perry tour, or a combination of the OG card and the box version as well. And again, here you can see at the top, we've got a bunch of cameras and sources which are all different. We have some SDR, we have some log, and again, SDR again from our record, edit, replay section too. And we're just going to do the hybrid log gamma conversion that we want. Perhaps it's the BBC version in each one of these. We select the same LUT for each of the devices. It's going to the video switcher, and then we have two color boxes again at the output. So we do, one is PQ and one is SDR. So it's very simple to set each one of those up to make sure the output from the set is in the two formats that we need. And in this case, those are going straight out to transmission. So again, the real-time nature of it, the half a line delay, means that you're not going to get in the way of the rest of the production, especially in a live environment. That's not just the only tool that we've got in terms of color correction. We do a number of different devices, but as I mentioned before, the FS-HDR, which is a frame sync. So if you're looking for something that provides scaling, as well as perhaps some audio adjustments that you might need too, you're able to do it all within an FS-HDR. It uses many of the same engines that the color box uses as well, but just adds some of the features that you'd expect from a frame synchronizer too. Our desktop I/O range of cards and various boxes, those are all fully HDR compliant as well. The same for recording and monitoring and analysis and delivery. So we've had a sophisticated suite of tools that you're able to use in real time on set or in post-production. All of these more or less are available to view on the Digibox stand. As I said, I think it's F22. As you come into the first hall section, we're opposite the talent agency setup. And you can see all of this installed on a DIC cart, which really is a kind of a compelling way of seeing these kind of tools in the real world and how they might work or how they could be useful to you. I would urge anyone to get a demo if you want to see it in action. We can show it you all functioning in real time and answer any questions that you've got. Speaking of which, has anybody got any questions or you'd like to talk about any topics? No? Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. Just going to get you a microphone. Just 1 second so I can hear you. Sorry.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned that the Wi-Fi on the box was capable of handling that, and I was just wondering how that connected.
Yeah, there's a mini USB. I would have to backtrack some slides to show you, but on the front of the box itself, there's a small USB port, and you're able to add. We have a list of compatible Wi-Fi adapters. You simply add a Wi-Fi adapter to it. It's passive to the software, and it will serve everything over Wi-Fi. Yeah. So you could have it tethered wherever you want.
So you would use a standard like Wi-Fi dongle?
Yes, yeah, it's nothing fancy. We don't make anything that's extra. They're all off the shelf, and I think there are about 3 or 4 that we could recommend that you would be able to use. It's worth mentioning that the output in terms of what you're seeing on the monitor inside the software, there's a slight performance hit over Wi-Fi, but that's really it. It's still going to give you almost real time, but it will drop the frame count just to keep up the real time element of it as well. But that's really the only cost of using Wi-Fi.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I'd like to say, thank you very much for your time today. I would urge you, if you want to find out more, either go to aja.com to find out a little bit more about it. That's my email address. If you've got any further questions or anything you want to ask me, please use the email. aj.com has a bunch of different articles all about the different workflows. And definitely have a look at Pomfret's LiveGrade website, because the Katy Perry story is really amazing in terms of how they were able to affect all of this tremendous change on set across so many different types of camera as well. It's a huge production, and they were effortlessly able to real-time convert everything that they needed to and pass it back up onto the monitors on the stage without any effort in terms of, processing extra frames and delay and things like that. Everything was working more or less in real time. But please have a look, and I thank you again for your time today. Thank you.